Stay strong. Strong people with integrity always rise to the top, and people follow them. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the comment, and yeah, that's been shown to be true. But it also is shown to be true that many people that speak up, it ends up they sabotage themselves. And I just, that's been my experience. Going back all the way to the beginning. You know, American Nurses Association is really, it's a union. It is, but yet they set the standard of care. But they're tied to every, they're part of Illinois Nurses Association, whatever union in every state, it's tied to American Nurses Association. The very people, again, that have blocked me. And, you know, that it kind of messes with you in a way, because you think, you know, these are all the higher educated nurses, and yet I'm a good nurse, but they don't want to listen to anything I say. And, you know, because it's already been deemed that if you don't have this certain degree, certain amount of degrees, then, you know, what you have to say doesn't matter. You're not of value. And so that's why I've always hated Magnet of Nursing, because they devalue just a good nurse, because they look at them like, well, you don't have all those degrees. So, and I know I bring that up a lot, but it's a kind of a racist thing. Instead of looking at the quality of care a nurse provides, they look at how many letters somebody has after their name. This is really, really simple, and in many ways the solution is simple, but it will never ever be solved by ignoring the actual problem. And I would really like to see, to be honest, I mean, I get so mad in some videos, so I get how people would say, oh, she doesn't, her temper, she's not calm. And it's like, because the nursing profession, we have people's lives in our hands. So when I see the leadership being a disaster, then it's like, of course this is all going to happen, because leadership is hugely important. Anybody in America who can't see how absolutely important having proper leaderships in place is right now, it should be obvious to everyone. I'm not trying to say I have all the answers. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect. I've never looked for some leadership job. I like just working with patients, you know. I'm not somebody looking to make millions of dollars. I mean, not that it wouldn't be nice, but, you know, for the most part, I by my own profession, because of standing up, I end up, you know, suffering the consequences of it. I don't think I finally understood that until probably 2020, because it happened to me a long time ago. I don't want to go into it, but it was with Illinois Nurses Association, and regarding, you know, a DCFS kid, and I've talked about it in other videos. I'm not going to bring it up again, but, you know, at every avenue where I stood up and tried to do the right thing or get other people, like, look, this was a kid, you know, like, it's like, it was very heartbreaking to me to see that everybody did the wrong thing. And it was so easy and natural for them to just be okay with it. And I'm not trying to say I'm some saint. Believe me, I'm not. I fall from grace so many times. I mean, I'm a train wreck many times when it comes to, you know, I've had to learn over time to pick my battles, okay? You really do. Because in this kind of system, if you just try to take on everything, and you will get nowhere, and you'll just piss people off. So I am not somebody that likes to cause problems. In fact, many of the videos I do when I go into a job, I don't bring any of this stuff up. I do what I know is right, and follow what I know my practice expects me to follow, but also I'm not going to go down the road of being unethical. And I think it's a gray area there, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of just listening to the leadership of nursing. And I don't mean at the immediate level, I mean at the top. And so nobody stops to think about some of the things they've gone along with has been actually hurting our profession. And yet I've dealt with these. I live in Illinois, okay? I was working in Cook County when Illinois Nurses Association, a union, was voted in at my first job, and everything that went on with that was people that should have lost their licenses. And yet every time I stood up, they were able to, knock me down. Because, it was Cook County, the corruptest county, I believe, probably in the country. Maybe some come close to that. But Cook County, which is Chicago, it's corrupt. But I didn't know how corrupt. So to me, it was like, wait a minute. There's actually people that don't care, that they outright lie or use a kid to try to go after a nurse for something they accused her of and they know isn't true. And then after the fact, they want to try to make the case by twisting a kid's words. And then they end up causing trauma to that kid. So it backfires on them. And that person is still probably retired today, but because it was 12 years ago. But was allowed to, the rest of my nursing career from there, especially, at least for a few, 4 or 5 years, I struggled. And I would talk to people about it, and they would just get like, you got to move on. It's like, how do you move on from that? Like, there's no reconciling that. Everything they did was wrong. They went after me because because we had just voted a union in. And ultimately, the union was involved in this. They knew who this director of nursing was that did this to this kid. And it was all just dirty and shady. And I was a brand new nurse. It's like, people can do this to others. Now it doesn't surprise me, because I don't know. It's hard to find people that'll just do the right thing. Most people, it's not that they're bad people. They'll just look away. They don't want to be bothered, or they're too afraid to stand up. And I get it. I do. I get it. Because if you stand up, you'll be crushed. You will. And then you don't have to be crushed necessarily in the way of they're going to arrest you or do this and nothing like that. You won't get a job anywhere. They'll bankrupt you. So I get why people don't speak up, but and I get why they take my videos down and they suppress me. But it's not because I'm not speaking the truth. It's because the very people that are in charge of everything aren't doing the right thing. Like, if anything, it's like, especially to people that are nurses at an American Nurses Association or National Nurses United, you should care. You should care about your profession. And I'm not saying I'm the only one that cares. There's tons of nurses in this country that care. I work with them all the time. But if you're leadership at the top of those levels, then you should be saying to yourself, no, we should not have gotten on board with the global health plan. It is not the answer. It was a mistake for our organization to do this. We will break away from it and start standing up that these hospitals should break away from it. Because that's the problem. When you have the World Health Organization and the UN, because that's what this is all about. Nothing will be, I don't care what all of these experts come up with, until they break ties with the global health 17 unsustainable development goals and that whole global health agenda, this will continue to get worse. Because once they tank it, then the global health system comes in, and then they'll put whatever nurses, even if you don't have all the credentials, it'll be a Venezuela type health system. That's why I really don't understand why professionals at the top went along with this. Maybe they were really just totally swayed by this will help everyone. But really, the best way to help people is start just in your community. Start just in your hospital. Encourage that there be free enterprise of hospitals again. No more mergers. And admit when you're wrong. It's hard for all of us to do that. But the best thing to do to fix this is to start and begin to be honest. Then it shows you have integrity.